Hello, 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 everyone. Apologies. Um, just traffic. Just so much traffic. So much traffic. Like the one day is like a bit tight. Like I normally get home pretty close to 5 o'clock. Like normally just a little bit beforehand, but it was a little bit after today. But we got here. We are here. I've got everything loaded. I'm just getting some various bits and pieces done in the background. But how are we feeling? Obviously, quite a lot to go into in terms of who's looking likely to get the victory here in Qatar. It's gone a little bit differently to how I was expecting it to go, to be honest. I was expecting McLaren to be the quickest car. Charles Leclerc proving us wrong slightly, but we go straight into competitive action. I think that's the thing this weekend, right? We're straight into a sprint weekend, one free practice session. The drivers didn't really get too much running, especially in the conditions that the actual Grand Prix will be in. It's one of those ones where we just can't really take too much from free practice and put it into what the Grand Prix and this sprint will hold. It's going to be a very, very interesting one. Let me get the live sector timings up for myself as well so I can see. I am here, Sarah. Don't you worry. I will always be here just in time. I was a little bit scared, not gonna lie. I was a tiny little bit scared that I wasn't gonna make it, just because the traffic in Norwich was at a complete standstill as I was trying to get home. But we got there. We got there eventually. But yeah, as I was saying, Charles Leclerc just ahead of Lando Norris in terms of free practice 1. Carlos Sainz and Piastri just behind. So it is still looking like McLaren and Ferrari are the top 2. I was expecting that coming into this weekend. I thought McLaren would have the edge over Ferrari, if I'm honest. Just kind of looking at where the two cars have been over the course of the season. But the Ferrari car is looking better and better on just an average circuit, isn't it? We used to have those peaks and troughs with Ferrari throughout the year where it would be very peaky, really, really good at those very niche circuits, which if anything is kind of becoming, a little bit more Mercedes. Mercedes are becoming a little bit better at those like niche circuits that have very particular things that they have to get right, usually temperatures, right? But also alongside that, some kind of niche bits and pieces that they have to kind of fend against. Yuki Tsunoda, absolutely flying towards the end of the season. I know he's usually pretty good in the last 3 or 4 races of the year. It's a bit weird with Yuki Tsunoda, really. I know that he's had 4 full seasons in Formula 1. Will be 5 full seasons in Formula 1 because he's guaranteed that spot at RB next year. Will that become Red Bull? We're starting to ask that question once again because Sergio Perez doesn't do the job, does he? But when it comes to that, Yuki, if he can get another solid point scoring finish, again, the pendulum swings. When Liam Lawson came in, I'll be honest, those first couple of races in the US and the Mexico, I was more impressed with Lawson than I was Tsunoda. Then Las Vegas last time around was absolutely stonking performance from Yuki Tsunoda. So it really is so tough to call, and it's changing race by race, isn't it? It's changing every single Grand Prix. Depends on whether Perez is better, Lawson is better, Yuki Tsunoda is better. There's no way of knowing where Red Bull are going to go with this. I don't think we're going to get obviously a decision until after the season ends. I think it's going to be a few weeks after the season ends, if I'm honest. I think they will have to sit down with all 3 of those drivers, Max Verstappen included, maybe all 4 of those drivers, possibly Colapinto as well if he's involved. I think they will have to sit down with all of them and have a little think about what's going on. Valtteri Bottas also up in the top 10 as well. He's absolutely sublime. If he can score his first points of the season, because he's been very good as Valtteri Bottas. I think of the drivers leaving the grid, he'll feel probably the most hard done by, considering the car that he's in and the performances that he's put in because of that car. And he hasn't really had that opportunity to shine in the way that other drivers have. But Lance Stroll, George Russell, Alex Albon, and Lewis Hamilton were the top 10 in free practice one. Whether that will be the top 10 again, as I say, it's so difficult to tell, especially with sprint qualifying when they have to go on the medium compound tire in SQ1 and SQ2. There's so many things that can be in and around sprint qualifying and a sprint weekend that we just can't quite predict. But we are going to get straight into it. Let me just grab these two here. And we're about a minute away from it getting underway after the traffic in Norwich put me at a little bit of a standstill. So we are straight into the action today. We'll delve into more of the news stories and other bits and pieces going in and around Formula One another time. I've got those bits sort of planned and ready to go, but maybe tomorrow we'll delve into some of the big talking points that have come out of this week in Formula One. And it's a Cadillac deal on the way by the looks of things. I've done a couple of little shorts on it, a couple of videos coming on that in the next couple of weeks as well. Mercedes are going to perform in Qatar. It's tricky, right? It's not cool. It's not cold in Qatar. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a desert, but it is at night, so maybe, just maybe, it'll play into their favor a little bit in the cooler conditions that the race and actual qualifying will be running. So we'll get a little inkling as to that now. I think the other thing is the Red Bull's not looking too happy at this moment in time. I know Max Verstappen has sealed the title for him. Not looking great for the Red Bull running. Let's move over though, and if I could ask you very politely to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It massively helps out the channel in all different ways. Like, it just makes everything so much better if we hit a good chunk of likes. And it's cooler, not cold. Exactly, yeah. It's cooler, but it's not quite getting into the cold region where they like it. Basically, if we could run every single race in sort of Canada, Great Britain, Belgium in the rain, you know, the very, very cool tracks, very cold countries in comparison to, you know, your Qatars, your Abu Dhabis, your Bahrains. I think the Mercedes team would be a lot better off. But we have got cars out on track. Kevin Magnussen is actually going to be the first man to get a flying lap time in the Haas. Lance Stroll followed him out. Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas behind. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc both out on track as well. Obviously, the little tete-a-tete that they had in Las Vegas. We'll see if they're next to one another once again. Colapinto and Albon coming out. Verstappen is out on track as well. As I say, Kevin Magnussen has crossed the start-finish line. Kevin Magnussen is now on that flying lap as his teammate Nico Hülkenberg comes out of the pit behind him. Gasly looking strong. Gasly's just been really strong in this kind of final quarter of the season, hasn't he? Just really come to life in that Alpine. I know there was a couple of upgrades that were added to his car, and also just the fact that there have been a few tracks that do suit him. But at the same time, like, Pierre Gasly, just I feel like he's always better in the second half of the season. Again, I don't know whether it's an Alpine related thing and the Alpine car slowly gets better as the season progresses. They are one of the teams that generally improves across the season in terms of their general pace. Whereas you look at like an Aston Martin, for example, and they tend to go the other way. They generally start better than they finish. I feel like Alpine do often finish better than they start over the last sort of 3-4 years. You're looking at that. Obviously, I'm looking at a very small sample size there, but just looking at those ones. And Gasly, yeah, I remember him, the end of 2023, again, was looking really, really quick. So I feel like he does just suit some of these tracks a little bit better, and the Alpine cars a little bit better. Suits him all down to the ground. Kevin Magnussen comes across the line, sets the standard at a 1:23.7. I think that'll be fairly comfortably beaten by the Ferrari men that we are on board with right now. We're watching Carlos Sainz just coming through turn 12, 13, and 14 in the Ferrari. 2 more races in red for the Spaniard. Although I feel like he could end up back at Ferrari in the future. I don't think that door is 100% closed. And I think the Ferrari team respects what Carlos Sainz has been able to help them build and do over the last few seasons. He comes across the line at 1:23.5. I'll be honest, I was expecting a little bit more from Carlos. Valtteri Bottas, 1:23.4. Here comes Charles Leclerc, 1:23.2 for the Monegasque. Fastest in the final sector. Bottas still quickest in the first and middle sectors. Getting the tyres going. Max Verstappen in that Red Bull car. Just coming around the final sector now. One more corner for Max Verstappen. DRS wide open as he comes across the line. Where's he going to slot into the timing sheet? Is second fastest for Max Verstappen. 0.04 of a second off Charles Leclerc. Not even that. Had 9 drivers cross the line now. Colapinto the slowest of them. Lando Norris has just gone quickest of anybody in that first sector. The purple ring around that first sector time for Lando Norris. McLaren car on the medium compound tyre, generally a little bit quicker. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lando Norris looks very strong in SQ1 and SQ2. It's then carrying it on into SQ3 when you suddenly get onto the soft compound tyre as well. Pierre Gasly goes 5th fastest of anybody ahead of the 2 Hasses. Only Valtteri Bottas of those kind of best of the rest teams ahead of Pierre. Bottas still in 3rd spot, by the way. Zhou Guanyu all the way down in 11th. Lando Norris has gone quickest in the middle sector as well. One final corner for Lando Norris before we get to see where he slots in, but it should jump to the top of the timing sheets for Lando Norris, and does indeed. A 1:22.7, almost half a second over Charles Leclerc. McLaren coming into this weekend, I feel like favourites, generally speaking, just looking at how they've performed across the various circuits across the year so far. Looking at the general speed of their competitors, I feel like McLaren still come into this weekend as the team I'm expecting to win. Whether they will go on to do so, I'll have to wait and see, unfortunately. Nothing is guaranteed when you're a McLaren fan. Ooh, George Russell goes 2nd spot. Just a few hundredths off the pace. Lewis Hamilton, though, 8 tenths adrift. Kevin Magnussen comes around again. His tyres that little bit warmer on Kevin Magnussen's car. Jumps into 3rd spot. I do feel like we are going to see the times tumble here on that medium tyre, especially as they get warmer in these conditions. Carlos Sainz proving that to be the case, going fastest in the first sector in his Ferrari car. Albon, Perez, Lawson, and Colapinto, currently the drivers that have completed a lap and are down in the bottom 5. Fernando Alonso is just coming around the final corner. We can see in the back of the picture there. And he's going to come in and go 7th fastest, which drops Esteban Ocon into that bottom 5. So the 2 Williamses, Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez, and Liam Lawson, needing to improve. Carlos Sainz goes top of the timing sheets until Charles Leclerc comes across the line and goes fastest in the 2nd and 3rd sectors, going to the top of the timing sheets. The 1:22.1 from Charles Leclerc. Here's a replay from Liam Lawson. Was there a little mistake? Yes, there was indeed. A little bit. Couple of wheels on the gravel. And sparks coming off the floor of that RB as well. Lawson, a pretty poor lap by his standards. As I say, it's just dropped a little bit in the last couple of races. I would say Liam Lawson looked really, really quick in the first couple of races at RB. Yuki Tsunoda biting back in Las Vegas pretty significantly. And it's very, very close all the way from the top to the bottom, isn't it? There is not a lot in it at this moment in time, especially as the track is evolving. Lando Norris has just gone quickest in the middle sector of anybody. But Pierre Gasly has jumped up to the 4th fastest. Valtteri Bottas still in the top 10, down in 8th. Kevin Magnussen is coming into the pits in 7th spot. Zhou Guanyu, Nico Hülkenberg in the pits as well. Sergio Perez improves to put Oscar Piastri 15th. Lando Norris goes quickest with a 122 dead. The 121s are on their way, aren't they? On these medium tyres as the track continues to develop and as the drivers get quicker and quicker. Oscar Piastri obviously won the sprint here last year, just as Max Verstappen was being crowned world champion. He got his first win in Formula 1. But Oscar Piastri needs to improve and does. Goes 3rd fastest and fastest in the final sector. A couple attempts off of his teammate. Lewis Hamilton is now down in the bottom 5, along with Yuki Tsunoda as well. So George Russell and Lewis Hamilton just coming across the line. Hamilton first, goes a 122.6. George Russell, absolutely nothing between Russell and Norris. He matches Lando Norris's lap time. A 122.0 from Russell as well. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda, goes 9th fastest in the RB. Puts Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso into the bottom 5. So with a couple of minutes left on the clock, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Zhou Guanyu, Nico Hülkenberg, and Franco Colapinto are the 5 drivers that desperately need to improve. They're going to get themselves through into SQ2. Passes just coming around together, giving a little bit of a tow to Nico Hülkenberg as Kevin Magnussen. Lewis Hamilton got a little bit of gravel on the tyres of the Mercedes car as well. I've added a couple of little gravel traps here and there just to prevent track limits infringements in Qatar. Here comes Lando Norris once more, already quickest, but trying to improve again to separate himself from George Russell, who matched the time of Lando Norris. Colapinto, Hülkenberg, Zhou, Alonso, and Stroll again need to improve. They're waiting on them to come around. Gonna have a little look at the radio messages as well. Okay. Hülkenberg comes through the first sector. Is 19th fastest at the moment, Nico Hülkenberg, but is improving. He's 4.5 temps up on the time he needs to beat. Lance Stroll has just jumped up into 6th spot, putting Alex Albon down into the bottom 5. Lando Norris comes across the line to take the checkered flag. It's a 121.3 from Lando Norris. That is a statement if ever I've seen it from the McLaren driver. Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg also take the checkered flag, 7th and 8th. Fernando Alonso improves to go 6th fastest. But Sergio Perez in the bottom 5 once again. Surely Sergio Perez isn't going to drop out in another Q1. He goes 13th fastest. It's not a ridiculous time, especially as Liam Lawson has just gone quicker than him. So Sergio Perez down to 14th. Make that 15th as Valtteri Bottas comes across the line and goes 7th fastest. Ocon, Tsunoda, Albon, Zhou, Colapinto are bottom 5. Sergio Perez, the man under pressure. Liam Lawson also in 14th. Colapinto comes across the line, not good enough. Albon does it! Albon drops Sergio Perez into the bottom 5 again. The Mexican is out once more in the first part of qualifying. Here comes Yuki Tsunoda, not good enough. So Tsunoda outdone by Liam Lawson in this one. And that is a real shame. I don't know your name. You can call me not applicable, that's fine. Or James, either or's fine. Albono, he's done it. Put Sergio Perez. Perez comes over the radio. A few expletives, but just not good enough. And it's the same story again, isn't it? For Sergio Perez. Just not good enough once again. And I mean, I've been talking about it all season, but it feels like even more in this second half of the campaign, Sergio Perez has just fallen adrift and is now making that Red Bull car look incredibly slow. And Charles Leclerc actually tried to make a move on Sergio Perez down in towards turn 1. Both on fast laps, both in the way of one another. And I mean, it's not helped either of them. Obviously, Charles Leclerc has managed to get through in 6th spot. And both of them trying to improve on their lap times. Unfortunately for Sergio Perez, he needed it a little bit more than Charles Leclerc. Pierre Gasly also having to make his way through the traffic. Again, luckily, Gasly also still through. So, wow. Sergio Perez out in qualifying 1 again. Yuki Tsunoda drops out. He was 17th fastest. Esteban Ocon was 18th fastest. Zhou Guanyu and Colapinto, the slowest man out on track. Goodness gracious me. 15 drivers go through, of course, into SQ2. We will see those play out in a moment. Liam Lawson through in the RB. Alex Albon sneaks through in the Williams. They'll be looking to improve. Obviously, the 2 Hasses in 11th and 12th place. Pierre Gasly in 13th, despite that lap being interrupted for Pierre Gasly. They're the 5 drivers that are under the most pressure right now. Of course, they need to improve to get through to Q3. Oh, thank you for subscribing to the channel, Jason. Massively appreciate that, mate. We could hit the like button. That'd be amazing. Hit the subscribe button as well. Helps out the channel massively. Joe beef with Colapinto. I mean, maybe we'll see a little comings together in 19th and 20th place tomorrow. Don't think it'll affect the rest of the pack too much by the looks of their pace right now. Another Q1 exit in the bag. Perez has to pull another Bahrain to keep his seat. I don't know what he needs to do to keep his seat, to be honest. If I was anybody involved in the Red Bull racing setup, I'd be looking at the points he scored this season. I'd be looking at the fact he's been outdone and outqualified a lot of the time by the sister team, to be honest. And just looking at whether or not there are other options available. I know he offers a lot financially to the team is the thing as well, though. Formula One is unfortunately not just a hierarchy of pace. You do have to have those extra things to help you along the way. And Sergio Perez has a good few extra dollars that he can put behind the team. So that's the problem. Perez needs to have some serious dirt on Horner. Okay, here we go. Oops, Tsunoda's radio. Tsunoda not very happy with the team. I think talking about them rushing, possibly coming out of the pits in a position where Tsunoda wasn't very happy. Couldn't get those tyres in the right position. Oh, we'll hear from Laurent McKees. A little bit tight on time. Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda just maybe getting caught in the traffic a little bit. Yeah, just I feel like it's one of those things, isn't it? Where you come out in the order of everybody. Sometimes it is just a little bit tricky to get there. Think Yuki earned his chance to be in that seat. I agree. I completely and utterly agree. I think Yuki Tsunoda has been the best RB driver. I think he has been the second best kind of Red Bull related driver to Max Verstappen this season. But he's it's weird, isn't it? Yuki Tsunoda has that link to Honda, not necessarily Red Bull. With Honda leaving, it makes you wonder how much the Red Bull hierarchy really sort of see Yuki Tsunoda as their driver, if that makes sense. I know it's strange to say because he's been in a Red Bull powered car for 4 seasons now, but at the same time, like Christian Horner's never really taken him under his wing. Helmut Marko was so critical of Yuki Tsunoda to begin with. It's kind of backtracked on that a little bit more recently. Has offered a bit of praise to Yuki Tsunoda here and there as Helmut Marko. But yeah, nobody's really sort of said he's our driver in that way. Albon is on a loan. That is not true. Not true. He is no longer a Red Bull related driver. He was on loan to Williams in the first season that he was at Williams. He is no longer on loan though. He is not a Red Bull driver in any way now. Of course, he still has those links. Of course, Red Bull will still be able to get in touch with Albon and say, you know, this is what we can offer you. This is the kind of contract we have. That is not true. He is not on loan as such. Lawson is good over a single lap, but he botched it in the race, went fast, then he went slow. I feel like Lawson's had some ups and downs, as you'd maybe expect for a driver that's come in with 6 races to go and quite a lot of pressure on you to perform in a quarter of a season, especially against some drivers that have had a full year in the cars that they're in. So it does feel a little bit strange, you know, for Lawson to be under so much pressure with 6 races to go. He's got so much to prove. Obviously, they also wanted Daniel Ricciardo there, so I don't know. It's all very strange when it comes to the Red Bull related seats. And as I said, I don't think we can really speculate too much. There's been so many times that we've said, well, this should be it for Sergio Perez, and it hasn't been. There's so many times where Daniel Ricciardo looked like he was going to take that seat. There's so many times where Daniel Ricciardo's been out of a seat. Yuki Tsunoda's been under that pressure before, let's not forget. I know Tsunoda's been really good this season and last, but a couple of years ago, Yuki Tsunoda was the one we were all talking about and saying, you know what, maybe it's time for Red Bull to slot in a different driver alongside Pierre Gasly or slot in a different driver alongside X, Y, or Z. It was just the way that it kind of goes. Sometimes you do need a little bit more place. Is Bortoleto a promising driver? Yes, indeed. I mean, leading the Formula 2 Championship as a rookie as well. So it's always a little bit more impressive when you win that Formula 2 Championship as a rookie, because it means that you have to adapt, overcome, and then be super quick within a season. Bortoleto, I know, is only just ahead of Isaac Hadjar, and there's a couple of rounds to go in Formula 2, but still looking very, very promising indeed. Max Verstappen comes across the line with a 122.1 as we get into this sprint qualifying session. 6.5 minutes left on the clock. Charles Leclerc has been quickest through the first sector. Carlos Sainz goes 3rd fastest overall for Ferrari. Again, the medium tyres have to be used in this first qualifying session, or second qualifying session for the sprint. Charles Leclerc, though, does jump to the top of the time sheets at 122.1. Still not getting anywhere near Lando Norris's quickest lap time. But Lando Norris is out on track as we speak. Not the fastest first sector from Lando Norris. Still more than enough time to improve, and I would not expect Lando Norris to be in that bottom 5 by any means. We've had 6 drivers complete lap time so far, so we'll give the other drivers a little bit of time just to finish up their laps, and we'll see where everybody shakes out after the first flying laps. Which is the fastest car on this track? You would argue the McLaren. Yeah, you'd argue the McLaren, but it's been so difficult to predict this final half of the season, really. Lando Norris, only second fastest from Lando Norris. 0.04 of a second shy of Charles Leclerc's first flying lap time. Oscar Piastri to Mercedes, Russell to McLaren. Not so sure about that one. Especially with Kimi Antonelli coming in, I don't think they'd be looking for a driver in the kind of Oscar Piastri mold. Piastri's still very, very young in comparison to Norris and Russell in terms of seasons run. Pierre Gasly jumps into 6th place. Oscar Piastri goes quickest of anybody. A 1:22 dead from Piastri is 0.08 of a second quicker than Charles Leclerc. So it is the Ferraris and McLarens towards the top of the time sheets. Lewis Hamilton made a mistake somewhere in that middle sector. Surely that is a very slow middle sector indeed from Lewis Hamilton. A little bit of traffic for Oscar Piastri. Ooh, and a little bit of running into the gravel for Oscar Piastri. Still managed to go fastest despite a bounce into the gravel trap. And luckily for Oscar Piastri, that doesn't actually break the track limits anymore. Max Verstappen going pretty slow through the middle sector as well. Didn't improve on his middle sector time. Lawson, Russell, Hamilton, the 3 drivers that have completed a lap but are slow. Hamilton and Russell, though, were adrift of the lap times by a considerable margin. Verstappen, that is a very, very good lap from Verstappen, considering the middle sector was a little bit awry. He matches Oscar Piastri's lap time. Very, very swift from Max Verstappen indeed. And here comes Carlos Sainz to then put both of them down a peg. Carlos Sainz goes to the top of the timing sheets, the first driver in this session to go into the 121s, and Charles Leclerc joins him in there, a 121.8 from Charles Leclerc as well. George Russell has just gone quickest in the middle sector. Kevin Magnussen still with no lap time, and in the pits is Kevin Magnussen. However, there was a mistake there. Kevin Magnussen, he had to come back in, but fresh set of medium compound tyres go onto the Haas car. Let's see what he can do. Lando Norris has just gone quickest of anybody in the first and second sector. So even though George Russell has jumped to the top of the timing sheets, it doesn't feel like he's going to be there for very long. The Briton is going to be replaced by another. Lando Norris flying once more at the end of these qualifying sessions. He topped the timing sheets last time around. Is he going to top the timing sheets again? Yes. Lando Norris, a 121.231. Ooh, track limits for Oscar Piastri. So his lap time is deleted. And now there's a little bit of pressure on the McLaren man to improve on his lap time. He is going quick, though, is Oscar Piastri. Quickest of anybody in the first sector right now. So Piastri needs to get himself a good lap time in without any problems with track limits. Alonso, Stroll, Bottas, and Magnussen, the 4 drivers in the bottom 5 with Oscar Piastri. Piastri again getting a handful of gravel onto those McLaren tyres. He really is trying to find the absolute limit out there. And again, you know these drivers, they use the sprint qualifying as a little bit of a marker to try and find where they need to be in qualifying for tomorrow as well. So Oscar Piastri pushing the limits a little bit. Lance Stroll trying to make his way through the traffic of the final sector. A Stake Sauber car in front of him. Hopefully won't cost him too much time. He's hoping as he comes towards the... Oh, it's a 122.5 from Lance Stroll. That's going to be very, very tight indeed as to whether that gets him through. I'm doubtful, to be honest, with Fernando Alonso now coming around in his Aston Martin as well. Max Verstappen is going pretty slowly in his Red Bull. He's sixth fastest at the moment. A poor first sector from Verstappen, and second sector that isn't anything to write home about, really. Albon, Bottas on flying laps. Liam Lawson as well. Pierre Gasly now in that bottom 5 in the Alpine. Oscar Piastri wondering if he's got a little bit of floor damage. So he did go over the curbs and bounce around a little bit at Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris and George Russell in the pits. So are the Ferrari cars. They're expecting to be safe. Hamilton, Hülkenberg, Alonso and Stroll, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Here comes Alex Albon around the final corner. Can he get himself up into the top 10? Just puts Lance Stroll down in 11th spot. Here comes Liam Lawson just behind. And Liam Lawson jumps up into the top 8 solidly. 8th place for Liam Lawson. Albon is going to be out. Bottas is going to be out as well. Hülkenberg improves to go 8th fastest. Can Kevin Magnussen? No. Kevin Magnussen takes the checkered flag and drops out. Lewis Hamilton comes across the line, puts himself safe in 4th. Fernando Alonso versus Pierre Gasly it is, and Gasly comes across the line to get 9th place and drops Fernando Alonso into that bottom 5. There we are then. Liam Lawson is just safe. He manages to sneak through, but it is Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll, and Kevin Magnussen who will drop out of this qualifying session. It was very tight indeed. There was not a lot in it there between Lawson and Alonso, and it just goes to show how tight that midfield pack is. 3 spaces available. Hülkenberg, Gasly, and Lawson nab them. Sergio Perez opened up one of those doors. Liam Lawson again. This is what I mean. It swings, doesn't it? Yuki Tsunoda had such a good Vegas Grand Prix weekend. Liam Lawson now, very, very quick. Gets himself into the top 10. Sort of takes Sergio Perez's position in the top 10, you could argue here, Liam Lawson. And it swings, again, the pendulum of performance. So tricky to gauge. And I think what we're going to have to do at the end of the season is look at the whole year for Yuki Tsunoda, Sergio Perez, and the full 6 races for Liam Lawson. 2 sprints in there, of course, in Austin and Qatar. No, 3 sprints, sorry. Brazil. So we've got an opportunity to really delve into the detail when it comes to all of those 3 RB drivers, Red Bull drivers, however you want to see them, and who deserves to be where and how and why. But Gasly is flying indeed. Lewis in there as well, yes, indeed. Alonso's beef with Lawson, yeah, continues on from Austin until now. Dropped out by him once more. So that is, just to summarize, Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll, and Kevin Magnussen, the 5 drivers to drop out of Q2. They'll start in 11th place down to 15th place for tomorrow's sprint race. And beyond that, the other 5 drivers that are also out of qualifying after SQ1, Sergio Perez will start in 16th, Yuki Tsunoda in 17th, Esteban Ocon in 18th, with Zhou Guanyu and Franco Colapinto at the back of the pack in 19th and 20th place. 10 drivers haven't made it. 10 drivers will now battle for pole position for tomorrow's sprint race. Of course, we will be live for that sprint race. If you are enjoying this, hit that like button on this stream. We will be live once more tomorrow, so hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you don't miss it. We'll be live for the sprint race, for qualifying, and for the Grand Prix on Sunday as well. Of course, the penultimate race of the season will then be live for all of the sessions in Abu Dhabi with qualifying and the race on Saturday and Sunday. If you are enjoying it, hit that subscribe button. And actually, if you want to get involved, if you are a member of the channel or a Patreon subscriber, just after this qualifying session here in Qatar, we're also going to watch episode 1 of Senna all together on the Discord. And you can get access to the Discord if you are a member or a patron. So use the links in the description, sign up for a membership, sign up for a Patreon membership. It's just £3 a month, basically the same as buy me a little coffee or a beer if you're that way inclined. And you can join us for an extra live stream where we're going to watch episode 1 of the new Netflix series Senna, which dropped this afternoon. Hopefully, if that goes well, more watch-alongs to come. Liam Lawson on the radio. Very happy indeed. A good lap it was. And Lawson, a little bit surprised was Liam Lawson to make it into the top 10. I think he was expecting to be close to that margin, but a very, very solid lap from Liam Lawson indeed. Gets himself up there. Has just come in. Please summarize. There hasn't been too much drama, to be honest with you. The big sort of talking point once again is Sergio Perez down there in 16th place. He was outdone by, well, it was Liam Lawson that knocked him out with his final flying lap in SQ1. And Liam Lawson also sneaking through in SQ2 as well. He's the man to watch at the moment is Liam Lawson in this first sprint qualifying session. Oh, for the Discord, I think the join link is expired. It shouldn't be. I thought I did one where it wouldn't expire at all. What I shall do is I'll put it out on the thingy, the community tab for members. Good shout. Invite people. Okay, I'll pop it on the community tab for members only. There you go. Here we are then. McLaren versus Ferrari, it feels like. Thank you for subscribing, Chris. Appreciate that, mate. Norris will be lethal next season. I certainly hope so. Lando Norris versus Charles Leclerc would be a beautiful title battle. It's my main job. I'm a teacher. Liam Lawson leading them out. 8 minutes of qualifying to go. 8 minutes to determine who is going to be the fastest for the sprint race tomorrow. Of course, a Constructors' Championship still on the line between Ferrari and McLaren. Pride on the line for the likes of Lewis Hamilton, who wants one more victory at Mercedes. Carlos Sainz wants one more victory at Ferrari. Will this be the final couple of races for Sergio Perez? Ooh, and Max Verstappen not very happy with Pierre Gasly being released in front of him in the pit lane. Ferrari coming out as well, maybe almost smacked into the side of Max Verstappen. But Verstappen out on track, luckily without hitting anybody else. And the soft tyres are indeed out first. Here we go then. Lando Norris, George Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly and Lawson out on track already. Piastri about to join them. Just Nico Hülkenberg, the man yet to be out on track. Liam Lawson is going to be the first man to set a lap time on the soft compound tyres. Of course, that is the big change, isn't it? A huge difference it makes going from the medium on SQ1 and SQ2, then swapping onto the softs for SQ3. Does give them a little bit of more of a challenge. Obviously, there's more grip on the soft compound tyre, but you do have to adapt a little bit. They don't get a lot of time either in free practice 1 to get some soft compound tyre running in. Really is how the driver can connect with the car. Where is Perez? Out in Q1 or Q2? Q1, I'm afraid. Down in 16th place. Ouch. Carlos Sainz quickest. Where's the map? The map. So you are currently in the chat for the shorts stream. You join for the full live, you get a little bit more detail, but I can't fit it on in the shorts stream. There you go. But come and join us. Head over to the full stream, or the horizontal stream, however you want to sort of see it. 5 minutes to go in this sprint qualifying 3. Charles Leclerc goes quickest in the first sector of anybody. Pierre Gasly goes quicker than Lawson to go fastest. Second fastest is now Liam Lawson. Imagine those two are going to drop down the order fairly swiftly with the Ferraris and the McLarens on their way around. Charles Leclerc, gets a little bit out of shape on the exit of turn 15 to Charles Leclerc, but round 16 he goes. And he's definitely going to go to the top of the timing sheets. Just what lap time does he manage? A 121.7 from Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris, though, going much quicker than that. I did think Charles Leclerc's lap time there, considering we were looking quicker than that on the medium tyre. Let's see, Lando Norris goes quicker by 0.3 of a second in that first sector. As he comes around the middle sector, he's 5 tenths up on Charles Leclerc's lap time at the moment. Charles Leclerc quicker than Pierre Gasly and Liam Lawson, the top 3 as it stands. Oscar Piastri also gaining a lap time in the other McLaren too. Feels like both of the McLaren cars are about to jump towards 1 and 2. Lando Norris, a 121 dead. That is a statement time from Lando Norris. He knows he needs pole position here to keep McLaren at the top of the constructor standings. Oscar Piastri then slots in behind him. Charles Leclerc drops it down. Hamilton and Russell then coming around. Liam Lawson is coming into the pits. Is that it for Liam Lawson? Max Verstappen comes across the line. Only 3rd fastest, then replaced by George Russell. Russell takes 3rd spot from Max Verstappen. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, Gasly has come into the pits as well. Hamilton jumps up to 5th fastest, so a little bit off of it is Lewis Hamilton. 4.5 tenths adrift of Lando Norris's lap time. Carlos Sainz is coming around. Ooh. Carlos Sainz going slowly, actually. I think he's going to try and go again. Is Carlos Sainz going to have maybe one shot at this? Pierre Gasly was in the pits. Out of the pits once again comes Pierre Gasly. Liam Lawson also. Those two need to hurry up a little bit just to get around and start a flying lap before the checkered flag drops. Just about enough time with 2 minutes on the clock. Nico Hülkenberg, the only driver yet to set a lap time. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg to start a flying lap. Hülkenberg going for it once more. Interesting that Lawson and Gasly were in and out of the pits again. Obviously, you can't change the tyres. Just the one set of tyres you're allowed to use for the sprint qualifying. So maybe just a little adjustment to maybe the floor or the wings of those cars. They're back out again. Is there a problem with Hamilton's lap? The fact that it's slow, or didn't see any particular ones. Lando Norris doesn't improve in the first sector. A touch slower than he was before. Piastri, though, the opposite. Piastri just inside the time of Lando Norris for that first sector and goes purple. So now Lando Norris and Piastri looking to sort of match or do slightly better than their lap times. Let's have a little look at Nico Hülkenberg. Can he get himself in the mix in that Haas car? Gets himself best of the rest so far. Hülkenberg up into 7th place. Gasly and Lawson behind. Gasly and Lawson are on flying laps now, though. I think Lawson has come around turn 4. Gasly just coming down to turn 1. Lando Norris comes into the pits. Is not going to improve. Can Oscar Piastri nab provisional pole? No, he can't. Still McLaren 1-2, but we've got a few drivers to come. Max Verstappen is pretty slow through the middle sector. Didn't improve on his lap time, did Verstappen. He's 4th fastest, 3/10 off the pace. Is he going to improve on that? The tyres just look like they're really struggling. They've obviously pushing them through quite a bit. And it is a better final sector for Max Verstappen, but not a better lap time overall. George Russell's 3rd fastest. Can he improve? Yes. He nabs 2nd spot from Oscar Piastri. Just jumps in front of the McLaren man. Lewis Hamilton does not improve. Stays 5th fastest. The Ferraris, though, 6th at this moment in time for Leclerc. 10th for Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz jumps up into 4th place. It's a little bit more like it for the Ferrari car. Can Charles Leclerc improve? Yes, goes 5th fastest and drops Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton down a peg. Pierre Gasly comes across the line and goes quickest of those final 3. Liam Lawson in 9th place. Nico Hülkenberg down in 10th. Is Nico Hülkenberg on a lap? Just coming around the final corner, actually, is Nico Hülkenberg. I don't know if he is. I think he's coming into the pits. He is indeed. So Hülkenberg is going to start from 10th. It is Lando Norris then, the man who is going to start on pole position for the sprint race here in Qatar. George Russell is going to start beside him on the first row of the grid. And we know that usually when those two start side by side, George Russell usually gets the better run into turn 1. So keep an eye on that for tomorrow's sprint race. Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz will start 3rd and 4th on the 2nd row of the grid. Charles Leclerc will be on the 3rd row of the grid in 5th spot, with world champion Max Verstappen in 6th. Lewis Hamilton is down in 7th place. Pierre Gasly starts in 8th. Ooh, Liam Lawson's lap time has just been deleted, jumping Nico Hülkenberg up into 9th spot. Liam Lawson then will start just outside of the point scoring places as well in 10th place. Fernando Alonso will start 11th. Alex Albon 12th. Valtteri Bottas 13th. Lance Stroll 14th. And Kevin Magnussen 15th. They were the 5 drivers to drop out in SQ2. And of course, the 5 drivers to drop out in SQ1. Sergio Perez, Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Zhou Guanyu, and Franco Colapinto for tomorrow's sprint race. Thank you guys so much for watching. Massively appreciate it. I know it's a bit of a rush on a Friday, but appreciate you dropping by, watching the stream with us. We'll be back live again for the sprint race itself tomorrow, and of course qualifying for the full Grand Prix on Sunday, as well as the Grand Prix itself. Also, if you want to get involved, we're going to watch episode 1 of Senna on Netflix in, let's say, 10 minutes time. I'll just get a couple of things set up from my end. If you are a member or a Patreon subscriber, you can get access to the Discord, and through that Discord, you can come and join us watching episode 1 of Senna and having a little chat about the Brazilian back in the day. Thank you guys so much. As I said, massively appreciate you dropping by. We'll be live once more tomorrow, and I will see you then.